for this group.
Thanks for your patience, everybody. We will get started in a minute.
There he is.
Oh, great. All right. Welcome, Israel. Welcome, everybody. And let's officially open the meeting. Good evening and welcome. This is our regularly scheduled board meeting, and I say that because we've had so many special meetings. This is just a regular one. And tonight we will focus on reopening. Dr. Silvers and some other cabinet members will update us again on the progression of school reopening. I believe Dr. Dougal will share some thoughts on vaccines, so thank you for that. I want to recognize something, that there is a truth that we should keep in mind, that no matter how well you plan, there's nearly always a rush at the end to complete it. So I have a very good friend who works at the Rose Parade, and she has been a volunteer there for years, and she shares the story that even though these companies have been doing this for dozens or even some of them 20, 30 years, there is nearly always a rush, a frenetic pace of the last couple weeks and the last 24 hours to get that last flower on the float. That's even with great experience and even with great planning. So we're doing something here in terms of school reopening that not very many have done, certainly not many in LA County, and opening a school during a pandemic. So we have asked the cabinet to clear their calendars and postpone nearly all non-essential meetings to focus on this Herculean lift, for which we have spent many, many hours and months planning for. Remember, we had the wrap meetings in the summer and have had many iterations. So kudos to everybody. Still, I would like to be real that I expect this will go very well, and I expect the unexpected will happen as well. Our administrators and our principals are working tirelessly to make schools safe with practices and protocols to make it the reopening as successful as possible. Our students and families will need to make significant adjustments with varying comfort levels as well, so thank you. And I want to also recognize the teachers who will again need to switch their schedules and their planning and practices back to a dramatically revised in-class schedule or a differentiated hybrid schedule. So remember all this, and ask everyone to work together to support one another, to appreciate the great community we're in, and bring a spirit of patience, kindness, and understanding throughout. Again, we expect this to go well, and the unexpected may occur. Everybody's doing their best. We're all in it for the kids. So I'm not sure which it is, so I'll say both. Thank you all in advance for your spirit of generosity and generosity of spirit as we begin this new year. So with that, I just want to give you those opening remarks to thank everybody and have us all have patience and kindness with each other, and can I have a motion to officially begin the agenda, the meeting, a motion to adopt the agenda to start the meeting.
I would like to say the pledge first.
I think we say that, don't we do the agenda and then the pledge?
Do
We
we?
adopt the agenda and then the
Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries.
I wasn't sure.
Want a
Have a
motion?
motion.
Thank you.
You have a second.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to do the flag salute.
Okay.
Dr. Harbeck, it's been much too long.
Yes.
Do this.
Please stand. Hand on your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Harbeck. Let's now go to public comments. And again, we have some in our Share Your Thoughts. The themes were very simple this week, basically a thank you for reopening schools from a number of families, and thank you for the thank you. There were some comments about reopening all school grade levels. Dr. Silvers will probably address that in his presentation tonight, why we can't do that yet, and an update on quarantine information that I know Dr. Silvers will also address later tonight. So thank you for these comments. Wendy, please, do we have any public comments to be read?
We do not have any comments on the normal public comment form, but I do have a few. The first one is from Debbie Felt. Can you please send the district reopening guide to all parents? It only went to K5. Thanks. Second comment from Shane Gardner. Board members, thank you for the choice to go back to school. I know this is a hard choice for parents, teachers, principals, and for you, the board members. In the end, the freedom to choose what's right for our family is why we're so grateful for your wisdom in this time.
Thank you, Ms. Subaki. Committee updates at this point, because of our focus on reopening schools, we are going to move beyond the committee updates as that takes some staff time. Dr. Silvers, I know there might be just a quick announcement on baseball that might be relevant here.
Sure. Yeah, I would just like to say in the last couple of weeks, we've been working closely with Rob Mafucci and Wiseburn Little League. And as we've seen the numbers drop below 14, we are excited to see kids being able to play ball again. And so it's going to be hopefully an exciting spring with our kiddos back on playgrounds and or play fields. And as we're also seeing that in the high schools as well, we're starting to see CIF sports coming back. You know, sort of all those cherished events that I think a lot of us have missed for a long time. So excited to see Wiseburn Little League and hopefully here soon Aviation Little League and others and AYSO as we start moving into soccer season as well. That's it.
Good news. And thank you, Dr. Silvers. Thank you, Rob Mafucci, for your leadership. Let's do comments from the board. Mr. Martinez.
Thank you, Neil. Well, Neil, your opening remarks really captured what I was planning to make comments on tonight. So to everyone, just thank you for all your efforts as we move forward with the reopening. And I will defer with regards to a lot of the updates that I think either Nisha or Blake will cover in terms of vaccination and some of the other organizations and events that are taking place. I'll defer those updates to them. But again, just a big thank you to everyone as we move forward.
Thank you, Nelson. Mr. Banuelos.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Goldman. I'm really looking forward to, can everyone hear me? Oh,
Yes.
good. Okay. Thank you. Just really looking forward to the overall presentation from Dr. Silvers and staff with regards to the school reopening. Understanding that there are some difficulties ahead as well, as Dr. Goldman mentioned, there could be some unexpected things, but we are trying to do as best we can with regards to the planning. Really looking forward to the hybrid model, and for parents also to have an option for distance learning. Understand we had 100% participation on the survey, so I'm really looking forward to getting an update on that. And our next steps, look forward to also being and visiting the campuses as we move forward with the reopening of some of our sites. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Roger. Mr. Mora.
Good evening, everyone. Just very excited about March 8th and visiting the classrooms and seeing some kids in the classrooms. So I know it's a lot of work for everyone. Thank you. You've all said it very well. I look forward to seeing the fruits of all that work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mora. Ms. Canetta.
Yeah, excuse me. Good evening, everyone. It's we're holding our breath because it looks like things are really going to be able to proceed this time. We came close before, and the numbers over the holidays, of course, December and January, November, December, January, the COVID numbers, went off the charts again. But I think this time we're really going to be able to bring kids back to the classroom. Kids are going to be able to play sports again, and we're going to be able to do it safely. I think that was always a requirement, of course, but I think with the presentations that we're all going to hear this evening, we'll see that the safety that we hold dear and care very much about and had as our first priority is still with us and is in place and will be vigilant with the safety for everyone involved. So appreciate all the work on everyone's part and looking forward to getting going here. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Joanne. And as I already shared, I'll keep mine very brief. Just a quick shout out to Bill Denny and the drive-by congratulations event to recognize his exceptional service when Nelson and I were visiting the schools in preparation for the planning. And by the way, just kudos and compliments to the cabinet, to the administration, to the principals for the planning work they're doing. It's very impressive and makes us feel very confident we're moving in the right direction. But as we were doing those visits, we noticed just how good the schools look. And that's a tribute to Bill Denny and his team. So thank you, Bill. You will be missed. So let's move to our Chief Business Official, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you. Good evening. No comments or updates for tonight.
and no worries because we're all hands in. So thank you very much. Director of Psychological Services, Ms. Mozzarella.
I'm excited to announce that we opened the special education preschool program today. They reopened and returned successfully. So that was exciting. It's exciting to see kids back on campus, and even though learning looks a whole lot different, and it's especially in a preschool classroom during a pandemic.
So, and Ms. Mozzarella, I want to read something actually that I neglected to mention. It just hit me. I meant to put this out. That's so phenomenal. It was sent by Dr. D of SLC from one of the parents.
Oh.
And the letter reads like this: for 8 years, we went to every meeting, every doctor, every psychologist, every therapist, in home, in school, at third-party locations. The meetings even included time spent considering if our son should go live in facilities, all because he's quiet, insecure, and school averse. As a mother, I've been the best advocate for him, but I could only work with the tools I had. This is about SLC, our school. SLC is the tool we needed to unlock our son's educational and emotional condition. Since beginning in the 7th grade, after in-home hospitalization, homeschooling, no schooling, partial schooling, attendance and body only, administrators, teachers, staff, counselors, office staff never engaging his mind, instead focusing on his paralyzing shyness, we finally found our oasis in the emotional desert of traditional schooling. SLC saved us. SLC gave our son the confidence and safety to expand his mind and encourage his social development with the same dedication traditional schools aren't able to provide, with the most heaping dose of appreciation and respect and a healing dose of gratefulness, a parent and mother of one of our students. I just wanted, it's just so wonderful to hear, and kudos to the whole team at SLC.
And they also have returned. So I apologize, SLC, I didn't include you as well, but they have also returned.
Well, thank you very much. Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Dr. Dougal.
Good evening, everyone. So good news. First off, regarding COVID testing for our staff. We actually did a pilot run yesterday on the 24th, and we were able to test 12 staff members, and it was really just to finalize our procedures. How do you check someone in? How do you scan a COVID test? How do people register? And so it went well with our small sample size. And so we're excited that next Wednesday, and teachers will be getting, or staff members will be getting information soon, that next Wednesday, March 3rd, we will open up testing for all staff members, both certificated and classified. So we can, once again, get this going. We also received this test results within 24 hours. And so they promised 24 to 36 hours, but we all had them by this afternoon. So that was exciting. It was a good step forward in getting ready to reopen. Also, beginning March 1st, I'm sure we've all heard on the news that the education sector will be open for the vaccine. And so we're excited to officially announce our partnership with Beach Cities Health District, who will be the partnership that will allocate our vaccines for us. Just a reminder that the vaccine supply is still very limited, and there is a specific algorithm that the county is using in determining how many vaccines we will get, which includes the percentage of free and reduced students. It looks at our city case rates, as well as our reopening status. So are we fully open? Are we open just for specialized services? And how many grade levels are open? This afternoon, we sent a survey to all of our staff, reminding them or asking them if they need access to the vaccine through our partnership, but also encouraging all staff members to please use the My Turn website, which will alert you when you may sign up for an appointment. And you can do this through your own healthcare provider. You can do this through community clinics. You can do this through CVS or Walgreens. And so we're waiting to hear what the partnership will look like, but we also know that there's other means of securing the vaccine for the education sector. Also, just a final reminder, those of you that are getting your vaccine, is all you need is your school ID or your pay stub, as well as a valid photo ID. A letter of employment is not needed as a form of verification. So we're excited. We're making the right moves towards reopening on March 8th.
All right, thank you, Dr. Dougal. Our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Dr. Harbeck. There you are.
Thank you, President Goldman. My report's not so much about reopening, but I just want to highlight some wonderful work that's going on our campuses, even during closure. This is actually National Engineering Week, or what we call E-Week. And it's a week that's sponsored by the National Society of Professional Engineers, dedicated to ensuring a diverse and well-educated future engineering workforce. So at Dana, our middle school students did sign up to participate in STEM activities throughout the week. We had 188 students that split into 3 robotics teams, and they went ahead and participated in the Northrop Grumman Engineering Week. We had 75 families sign up for daily online activities and challenges and opportunities to hear from guest speakers from the field of engineering. This was all done virtually. Our PLTW teacher, Andy Desser, also used eWeek to continue the process of forming a team of students to participate in the annual Herndon competition. We had 38 students apply, 25 went through a second interview, and 11 students have been selected from grades 6 through 8 after being interviewed by a panel made up of Da Vinci students who are past Herndon members. So this year's competition will be virtual, and it's planned in May, on May 27th. So I just want to highlight that, a lot of effort on the part of our schools to keep fun things happening for our kids all the way through. So Engineering Week ends tomorrow.
All right.
That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Harbeck. Good to see this stuff still happening, and thank you to the companies for still supporting these activities. It's great. Dr. Silvers is now going to wow us with his dulcet tones as he takes us through what could be an in-depth presentation, but one I think it's important for us to hear. So Dr. Silvers, take it away.
All right, Dr. Goldman, if I could sort of just realign, I wanted to recognize Mr. Denny as well prior to starting, just so I just in piggyback off what you said, just share a few words about Bill. Definitely a big loss to the district. And so that the community kind of understands the breadth and depth of the work that Bill has done over time in Wiseburn. In 1997, the passage of Proposition W began the rebuilding of the Wiseburn School District. The first project would be to reopen the previously named Peter Burnett School. It was then that Bill Denny, a former Wiseburn student, having attended 3 of our 4 schools and being a general contractor, was hired as our maintenance and ground supervisor. Our district could not have chosen a more qualified, capable, patient, and dedicated project manager for the many construction projects that would happen over the next 24 years. In this position, Bill spent his first 6 months on the job living and breathing the renovation of now 138th Street School. Over the years, he worked with multiple groups to rebuild more schools in Wiseburn, beginning with ANZA in 2001, Dana Middle School in 2007, and Juan Cabrillo in 2009. The general contractor on the ANZA project wrote a letter to our Board of Trustees that stated, "In 25 years, I must advise the board that I have never worked with a more dedicated, loyal, or honest individual than Bill Denny. The Wiseburn School District is very fortunate to have such a fine gentleman on their team." Through all of this, and for the last 24 years, Bill Denny has been the backbone of the health and maintenance of the fields and the buildings that our students, staff, and community use, play in, and learn in day after day. Bill, you retire a legacy of beautiful buildings for generations to come. Thank you for more than 2 decades of dedication and service to the families of the Wiseburn Unified School District. I think we can all say that you have made a difference. Thank you to your family who supported you throughout your time. Thank you to them as well. And may these next years bring adventures and no cell coverage. Thank you, Bill, on behalf of the Wiseburn School District. And that's it for me, Dr. Goldman. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So want to take us through the reopening process, and bear with me and us as we go through this process. It's a long presentation, but definitely a lot to cover. So first, we're really thrilled to welcome our students back. And as before returning, we would ask our families, and it is in Spanish and English, but it's on our website, to take a look at our Wiseburn reopening guide. It's a 17-page document that details our opening, district policies, and really what school may look like as our students return. And we want to welcome our students back. We want to welcome our caretakers back, our families, our parents, our caretakers, again, our students. We know that some students chose hybrid learning, some chose 100% remote or 100% distance. In that vein, or to that point, our hybrid TK to 2 on-site or in-person will begin on March 8th, and then our hybrid 3rd through 5th grade will return on March 15th. And notice there is no secondary on here. There's no middle school or high school yet, as we will not be able to operate any single subject or secondary model of school until we reach the red tier. And that red tier means that we have under 7 cases per 100,000 residents in Los Angeles County, as well as below an 8% positivity rate. And I know I generally have that slide up, but I didn't do that this week. We're doing a different slide, but just for the numbers, our last rate was, or this week's rate, sorry, was 12.3 per 100,000, 12.3 positive cases per 100,000 residents, with a positivity rate of 5.1%. So definitely below the metric in positivity rate, and moving closer and closer to that 7 at the point in which LA County would come out with new health directives to be able to open some of our secondary schools and programs. So,
and Blake, just a very quick comment there. It's not that we are not able to, we're not allowed to, correct? Because LA County does not permit us to come back for that higher grades. It's not necessarily a choice at this point. It's not even an option for us whether we can open 6th, 7th, 8th, and above for the high schools. We can't come back even if we wanted to, correct?
that's correct. We cannot meet the requirements of cohorting and numbers of students in a classroom to come back.
Okay.
And so with that, we understand that because there's going to be a split, we want to highlight that while efforts will be made to maintain current teacher classes, class assignments, we want to obviously minimize the shuffling and add for continuity of learning for our students. We do know that some of our student schedules will change, teachers will change. It's just part of the balancing, and it's one of the unfortunate circumstances around bringing back students during a pandemic. But definitely focusing on that last bullet point is that reopening does require a commitment and really a responsibility to maintain the strict health and safety guidelines that are set forth by the LA County Department of Public Health, but also that's really in line with our mission, with what we want to live into in terms of safety for our families and our community, our teachers and students and staff. So what to expect on campus? Campus won't look the same. So it's going to show a few pictures here. To the right, we're going to have campus checks, so health checks and screenings, temperature checks. You see a classroom here with 6 feet distancing at a minimum between desks. We have our clear barriers, more carrels, plexiglass that will be on each desk. And this was what students will sort of look forward to as they come into the new normal of returning to school. And you can find more information aside from the reopening guide as well on this, it's this bit.ly site here. It's on our website, and we will have this posted for families to see, as well as our principals will be presenting at each of the school sites and talk about some of the specific protocols related to their school sites. So all of this information will be presented again and in various forms for our families. And again, just some pictures in the field. I've shared these before, but we see, one-on-one assessments. We see checks at the fronts of schools. And this is the latest example of a classroom that has been sort of completely redone. This is current. It's just a couple of days old of one of our school sites. And we're now at about 85% complete in all of our classrooms, basically looking like this to some degree. Each one with a plexiglass standard there, as well as the desks positioned 6 feet apart. And what you may not be able to see on the floor is that each desk is marked by tape as well. We want to make sure that we're not guessing. I mean, it is an exact science to make sure that these desks stay 6 feet apart. So it's easier to shuffle and move them around as our custodial staff goes in and cleans. Front office, 6 foot distance dots on the floor. We're also going to use painter's tape to mark other areas, because we found these peel off easier. So ironically, painter's tape has worked better. So we are going to do some marking with painter's tape as well. The more dots that we need to use, and we're going to have very frequent cleaning of high touch surface points, as we can see here, one of our custodians cleaning an entrance. So some of the protocols that families and staff and students will see is that all students, staff, visitors are required to wear face coverings when on district grounds. And this is at all times except when eating or drinking, water, obviously. And that includes, and I actually had to clarify this at a meeting recently, this also includes if you're running, playing, recess, kickball, whatever it is that students are doing on the play structures, it still requires that students wear face covering. So the only time that there would be an exception would be if there were eating and or a snack or water. Students will remain in stable groups throughout the instructional day. A stable group, a group of 12 or 16, depending on the class size. All staff, students, parents, caregivers, and other essential visitors will be screened for symptoms of COVID-19 on a daily basis via a tailor-made screening application for Wiseburn. So we will have our own, a text message will be sent to all of our families prior to showing up in the morning. They'll be able to log on and fill out the screening, and there'll be more to come on that as we send that message and those instructions out to our families. But we do have that going. The reason why bold-faced essential visitors is because we are asking families and visitors to really limit the time on campuses. We do want to limit it to those people that have essential business and essential work to be done on school sites. And so we just want to honor that just to keep our numbers down as best possible. Staff members will be provided the appropriate PPE. The PPE is at all the school sites. It's currently there. It's being inventoried by our business office. This includes face masks, face shields, gloves. PPE will be provided to students upon request, and Wiseburn will also provide these plexiglass desktop carols, if you will, and hand sanitizer stations throughout our school sites and in our classrooms. The district is going to coordinate with the custodial staff to be sure that our facilities are regularly and sufficiently cleaned and disinfected, and we are using the guidelines from the CDC and the Department of Health. And we did, in creating our AM/PM schedule, broke it down with a 90-minute break in between so that it provides us the time to be able to make sure our teams get in there and get to clean and sanitize the facilities. Site administrators will be updating our families about ongoing health and safety practices. We know one thing that we do know is that everything's going to change. And so as things change, we're going to continue to message families, message our community so that we do have compliance, and also as we can be less restrictive as things kind of clear, that we also are keeping our community informed. When possible, doors and windows will be open to allow for inside air exchange, but we do want to happily announce and really proud to say that starting by March 3rd, our entire district, from Dana Middle School to SLC to Anza, Cabrillo, 138th Street School, et cetera, will all have air purifiers attached to their HVAC systems or within their HVAC systems. And I believe that's going to be on the board agenda today. So that work's being done. I believe it started today and will be done over the next 2 to 3 days. And certainly by mid next week, we'll have all those air purifier systems up and running within our classroom spaces. Learning may take place outdoors as appropriate. We want to be creative with the space that we use and how we use space so that we are, not indoors all the time, right? So on on-campus testing protocols, I'm going to actually pass this off to Dr. Dougal. She's been handling this, and go from there.
Great. So regarding the on-campus testing protocols, we will have weekly testing available for staff and students free every Wednesday at Dana Middle School. Each staff member and student will get a unique link to register for the drive-through test, and we do not, it's not appointment based, it's just this is the time and this is the dates and you can come on in anytime. Your COVID-19 test results will be shared with the compliance officer as well as with the person taking the exam within 24 to 36 hours. And so this is one of the many ways we're using to mitigate the exposure of COVID-19. So hopefully we find out someone has it prior to them being on campus.
And again, just to keep going back to our website, we really want to funnel our community members and staff members and students even to our district website. We have our reopening guide. It's on our website. So please, if you have some time to go there and look at that, that would be very beneficial. So talking about schedules, we're looking here at a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday schedule, with Wednesday being an asynchronous day. We have our A cohort in the morning, There's going to be a recess. The cohort B will be working asynchronously. Then we have our push for campus cleaning, and then our cohort B or our second cohort would come in the PM for a couple hours. And so again, consistency across the board, 4 days a week. This was a real team effort, and I do want to thank the team, parents of staff members, teachers who came together to help support this process of us establishing a schedule. And it is very similar to some of our neighboring districts as well. There's only so many ways you can sort of carve up a day, right? But definitely this took a lot of time and energy of a lot of people. So I do thank them for that, and I know it's a difficult challenge. Then the daily remote learning model, the daily schedule, and this is for the 100% distance. It mirrors the other model, and of course I want to share though that this will be managed by the teacher, and that we understand that a student can't necessarily spend 2 or 3 hours in front of a screen. We don't want the student to be face to face with a screen for 3 straight hours. So teachers will find creative ways to break up time, to allow for other activities, and then check-ins and ongoing support for students as they go through this learning process as well. So that is that. And then we talk about daily screening. And I did share this a little bit, and so I'll just add on to that. It's basically we're going to be using an application that was designed for Wiseburn, and students will, or families, caregivers, will fill out an app or a form, we'll answer some questions or a test of questions on a form via an application. And then there'll either be a red check or a green check, hopefully hopefully no red checks, hopefully the green checks, right? And then students will then come to school, be allowed to enter, and we'll do our screening as well with temperature checking at the gates at students. Are there any questions? This may be a good stopping point. I don't know if the board has any questions, and I could answer those now, or I just keep going. I can't see you all, so. Okay.
Like, I have one question with regards to the place. You mentioned the play structures.
Yes.
Will the play structures at Anza and Cabrillo be open or closed during this period?
So during recess, it will be open. So is that what you mean during school time? Is that what?
Yeah, during school time, and
Yes.
then how are with all the students that could be using it? It seems to me counterintuitive that we're having all the 6-foot separation spaces with the classroom and the plexiglass, but then all students can go onto the play structure. And how is that going to be monitored and clean? I mean, I don't think it's reasonable to expect the play structure to be cleaned after every use.
Right.
So I'm questioning why we're opening the play structures.
Okay. Nisha, do you want to, I think you're on, yeah.
So in regards to the play structures, both with a call with Department of Public Health and LACO, the play structures, just like our local parks, are open. They are able to be open. We will have certain safety protocols in place. So number one, we will be disinfecting the playgrounds, not after each cohort, but they will be disinfected. Students will be advised to use sanitizer before they go out into the playground, and once again when they come back. And we will have supervision out on the play structures as well. And so we have spoken to the elementary principals, and one of the ways we're going to introduce the play structures to students is actually for the first week or two. We're just going to practice getting used to the 6-foot distance and what that feels like. And so the play structures may not be open that first week of school until students are really used to what the social distancing should be. So we want to make sure we practice and model that behavior first, and then open up the structures once we know the rules can be followed by the students.
And Roger, to your point too, is we also had a similar concern, and I did have a chance to see a couple, between a camp and a school actually operate a play structure with similar protocols, as Dr. Dougal said, and with staggered with staggered recesses, limited numbers of students on site at any one time, and with, I guess it would be scheduled cleaning or disinfecting with a wand, with the foggers. We will be able to get there and pretty quickly disinfect after use, not after every use, but after significant use on the structures in between cohorts, and even during cohort times.
So the students, as they're using it, will be in either cohorts or certain groups. Is that what I'm I guess that's what I'm trying to
Yes.
understand.
Yes.
So it's not like all students that come back at any given time will be on the playground. It's going to be scheduled or sequenced with different groups at different times.
There's only one cohort at a time that can use that play structure. And so the principals have worked on a recess schedule based on the number of classrooms they have and on a 10-minute recess schedule.
Okay, 10-minute recess schedule. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay. So just recommended school supplies. We are recommending that students bring 2 masks per day. And that, you know, it's not that they need to wear 2 masks per day, but it's that they have 2 masks in case one gets soiled or damaged or just need lost, who knows, but we just want to make sure that students have that. We will also have masks available as well. We have a significant number of masks, both paper masks and cloth masks that we could distribute to students as well. So we also are asking that students bring reusable, sealable water bottles. So because we can't use water fountains, we can use our sinks to fill water bottles, but can't use water fountains. They're actually off limits. So they've all been closed, covered with you know, an X or a plate or whatever we can to cover that, and they'll be inoperable. And then there will be additional classroom supplies that the teachers will ask of their students. And so this is just a site example. And again, as I shared, this will happen at every school site, a similar presentation to this. And so just want to give an overview of what an entry to campus may look like. And again, thank you to Dr. Goldman and Mr. Martinez for walking the sites. This happens to be ANZA. I won't read through this entire process, but an example would that students are going to be entering from particular gates. We'll have multiple entries. It's probably better if I skip this and go right to the map here. So if you look at the map, you'll see that there are going to actually be 3 gates or entry gates and then 3 dismissal gates, associated dismissal gates. So you see your 3 through 5 students would enter through this gate here. I believe it's on the north side of the campus. And then you have our gate here on the west side of the campus for TK and K. And if you see the red arrow here, it actually leads right into the playground area, basically right into where students where their classrooms are. So it's a sort of an easy access to these 4 classrooms. With the exception of room 5, but you know, we have to make some exceptions just based on the layout. But this is just one example of a site and just the thought that went into this in order to make sure that we space students out, that we're not bringing too many students through one entry or exit as students are leaving schools. And then I will leave this to the principal to explain to his families, but there is a very structured schedule. Again, kind of going to your point, Roger, as students come on, we want to have, you know, as recesses happen or as entries happen, that it's staggered again, so we're able to manage and monitor the numbers of students, both as they arrive at school and as they leave.
Dr. Silvers, if you would, I believe each principal will be doing their own overviews for their respective families. Do we have the schedule of that? Will we be sharing that at some point?
We do. The principals will send that out, but today, just off the top of my head, we're doing, Eileen, I'm sorry, I don't want to give the wrong information. Do you have that right there available?
Yep, they're doing 2 actually. They're doing 1 in the evening and then 1 in the morning. So the evening would be on, I believe, Tuesday, March 2nd, and then in the morning on March 3rd. So parents who, you know, they have 2 options.
And will they be recorded and available for viewing off time?
We can talk to them about that. That's a great idea. Thank you. And they're also working together. So if parents have children at multiple schools, they're altering the time so they can attend.
Thank you.
Just more pictures from the field. Again, this is sort of the close-up, or it is the close-up shot of how kindergartners would enter their classroom. When you look at ANZA, for instance, just to go back to this here, none of the indoor spaces, I just want to point out, this is where the hallways, I don't know if you could see my cursor here, but I'm just kind of running in between these numbers here. This is the interior hallways of the various wings at ANZA. They won't be used. You notice all the red arrows are actually on the outside. So we're only using outside entrances and then exits again so we're not using the indoor hallways. Just wanted to point that out. And so again, this would just, at a closer view, you see students would be entering from the outside. This gate's normally closed and locked, right? But it's going to be open and welcoming for our students as they come on site. This would be another entrance. This, I believe, is off of, Off of La Cienega. I'm sorry, I forget the exact street here. Neil, Dr. Goldman, do you know the street number? Is this
La Cienega.
This is La Cienega? Okay.
Well, which one?
So this is
6 through 13 is Hindry. That's not Hindry. That's 123rd, I believe.
Oh, that's 123rd. You're right.
And then La Cienega is just to the east.
Right. You'll probably be wrapping around La Cienega as you come to 123rd.
And then exiting from campus, we're basically exiting the same way that students arrived. And we are asking families to be punctual. We're really going to work on making sure that flow happens. And certainly we'll be sending some reminders to families as we go.
I apologize. I think go back to that picture. I think we may have, Neil, did you say Hindry or 123rd? Isn't this 123rd?
Yeah. So room 5 is, I believe, the very bun to the right is off of Hindry, I believe.
Right.
6 to 13 are 1 through, that's on 123rd.
Right. So I think we may have misspoke here. Room 6 through 13, Blake, is 123rd.
123rd. So you could see it from a top here, right? So this is right here. Here you are, right, Nelson. So 123rd right here, and then the gate is right in this area here. Right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And then this was what a potential kindergarten, obviously there will be more dots, but this is what a potential kindergarten dismissal would look like. So you see the rooms would be lined up again, even between the dots and then between the rectangles, we'll at minimum of 6 foot distancing, right? So we just keep that. We'll have markings on the floor so that students maintain that distancing. And then this here, where you see the red curve, that's where the cars will pull up. Student will be dismissed to the car and then be back the next day. And then breaks during the school day, we will have lunch schedule. And so I actually am going to pass this over to Dr. Dougal to talk about the lunch process.
Perfect. So once again, to minimize the time students have on campus in terms of eating lunch, we will be having grab and go meals on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at the specific elementary site. So students will pick up their lunches, so that morning cohort will pick up their lunch and go home for the day. The afternoon cohort will pick up their lunch for the day for the next day. So for example, on Monday, the AM cohort picks up their lunch, goes home and eats lunch. Monday afternoon, the PM cohort picks up their lunch on their way home, and that is their lunch for Tuesday. This is once again to minimize the time students are on campus to eat lunch. On Wednesdays, all meal pickup will be at Dana. And so that will still be open for pickup for Dana for meal pickup. I know this may sound a little confusing, but all the parents have been informed about this, and we will be once again going over the process for them. This is also a way to ensure that all of our students do have access to a lunch as well. So we will have, once again, all of the AM students will have the opportunity to pick up a lunch, and all of our PM students will now have the opportunity to pick up a lunch because they will be on campus.
Then talking about our exposure protocol, ultimately, Dr. Dougal is the COVID compliance officer for the district. But if there's off-campus COVID-19 exposure or any fear of exposure, we are asking that staff, family members, parents, guardians, that they contact, if there's any symptoms, that they contact the main office at each of the school sites. And then that information would be shared with the administrators. So then the administrators can contact COVID compliance, and then we could go through any type of tracing, contact tracing, or of that sort, and deal with any type of quarantining and things of that nature. So, and I do want to correct, I don't know if it's going to come up later, but I think in an email or some sort of message I shared that if families left the county, that they would have, just to be mindful of the fact that there is a 10-day quarantine if you leave the county. I misspoke. It's actually, we're asking any families to adhere to that order if they leave the state of California. It's not the county. You could go between obviously Orange County and Ventura and those and our contiguous counties, but should you be traveling out of the state, we are asking that families do maintain that 10-day quarantine prior to coming back to school. And that will be consistent in messaging that comes out from the district, from the schools. It's also in our reopening guides, et cetera. So just a couple scenarios, and these are questions that came up from families or from stakeholders, and just want to share. So first one is a child is exposed to a confirmed case of COVID-19 at home. What should the family do? In this case, that child should not come to school. They should be tested or recommended that they're tested for COVID-19. Should quarantine at home for an appropriate amount of time, depending on the outcome of the COVID-19 test. And then it should be communicated to the school nurse and by the school nurse what the student should do, but also information should be given to the district, to the administrator, and then to the school nurse so that the nurse can help maintain contact with the family. Number two, a child in the AM cohort who's been in the classroom tests positive for COVID-19. So in this case, families of both the AM PM cohort out of an abundance of caution would be shut down. So at that point, we would notify families, and the teacher and adults will be sent home to quarantine for the appropriate amount of time. And then we would also be communicate through our district nurse and through our COVID compliance officer the next steps beyond that. The third scenario is if a child has an illness that's not consistent with COVID-19. We've seen allergies and those types of things. We do know that the symptoms are very numerous for COVID-19, but should one happen that's not COVID-19 related, parents will be notified. This is an assumption that's on campus. And they're going to be notified that their student was either returned to class because it was determined it was something that obviously that didn't spark concern for COVID, and or that student would then be asked to be picked up by the parent. And we're going to be very critical and conservative about how we address these circumstances. We really want students that are symptomatic in any way to stay home and just make sure that they're healthy before they come back to school. The next one is if a staff member, not a teacher, tests positive for COVID-19. And in this case, the compliance team in collaboration with leadership will need to determine who, if anybody, was a close contact to that person. And again, we go through our contact tracing process, and anybody that was that person, the confirmed case, plus any close contacts would be sent home to quarantine and then also recommended to get COVID-19 tested. And the last one is a child is identified while at school of exhibiting potential COVID-19 symptoms. So we don't have a positive test, but we have an exhibition of these symptoms. The child will be sent home, and a medical provider should be consulted for appropriate next steps. This would possibly include the recommended COVID-19 test and treatment for the symptoms or for other symptoms. The child should remain home until fever-free and really symptom-free without medication for 3 days and until those symptoms have improved. Return to distance learning procedures. In the event that a whole class or cohort is sent to quarantine, the students would then shift. So if we had to shut down a cohort for whatever reason, and it's why we kept, if you notice in the schedules are the same. The distance learning schedule and the hybrid schedule are relatively the same because we want to keep that consistency should we have to pivot. And in that case, you would go from an in-person to a distance learning model. And students who are enrolled in a 100% distance learning model would continue to learn from home. If a student or small group of students in a hybrid cohort are quarantining from home for whatever reason, they'll still have access to their classes' asynchronous assignments, Wednesday synchronous instruction, and any asynchronous learning opportunities like PE, music, science, etc. So whether you're at school or whether you're distance learning, even if you have to quarantine, you'll still have access to the curriculum. And this is a live QR code that goes straight to our FAQ sheet. We do have a list of many, I don't know the number now, but we keep adding lists of FAQs. So, we'll have this on our website as well so that families can go directly to our FAQs and maybe have some answers that we weren't able to do tonight. But any questions from the board, I'd be glad to answer.
Blake, I have a question relating to the if a family or students travel outside of the county. I'm sorry, not the county. Just want to make sure I'm clear. It's not the county, it's the state. Then is it a recommendation from the LA County Department of Public Health that they self-quarantine for 10 days, or is it a requirement? That's the first question. Then depending on your responsive, then I have
All
a
right.
follow-up.
All right, Nisha, I'm gonna.
Perfect. So based on the February 3rd guidelines, it is, if it's non-essential travel, they are requiring folks for 10 days to quarantine. These guidelines, I'm going to let you know, they change continuously. So that was the guideline that we received on February 3rd. And it is in terms of non-essential travel. So very difficult sometimes to figure out if it's essential or non-essential. But for the safety and exposure rates of our entire staff and student population, we do hope that families adhere to that and do inform us if they are traveling outside the state or internationally.
And that was actually my next question, because as a board, you know, we want to take every precaution, and the school district, every precaution to safeguard the safety of all of our students and all of our teachers and faculty. So I really hope that all of our families and everyone adheres to that without having to have any further board policies. But that is a conversation that I'm very willing to entertain, whether it's a suspension or an expulsion from the district. I really take this item really seriously. I don't think we have a board policy as of yet. I hope we don't have to create one, but I'm certainly open to having a dialogue about this, because if we're opening, obviously in good faith for everybody, for parents and students to have a choice to come back. And I want to make sure that we do everything we can to observe that and not put others at risk. Again, for non-essential travel. If it's a luxury that people are taking, then they need to take that on their own and not expose others. And I really believe wholeheartedly on that. And hopefully we don't have to develop a board policy on that, but I will ask if there's consensus on the board here. I'd like to start taking a look at that to be ready for something like that, because I don't want to be scrambling when that situation, if it were to occur, what do we do then? I know it's a difficult topic to discuss, but this entire process is difficult to go through. I don't want to jeopardize all the hard work that's been done for some non-essential trips potentially. So Blake, I'm going to leave that one with you and for staff for further consideration, and perhaps we discuss that in the future as well. But I don't want to let this item go unnoticed, because that could very well be an issue.
Sure. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
Blake, one question. First of all, thank you for the wonderful presentation. I know it was a lot of hard work, and I know there's a lot of people behind the scenes that did a lot of work with regards to this presentation. So thank you for that. You illustrated Anza Elementary School as the example. I know Cabrillo and Burnett are also going to reopen, and I know in the event of possibly both, but at least in Cabrillo, there's going to be multiple parent pickup drop-off locations. When are we planning to communicate that to the parents and the community?
So that would be at the meetings. I think Eileen used the second and third. Is that what it was the second and third, right? So it's one in the morning and one in the evening for each of the school sites. And so basically it'll be the same presentation that the board saw today, but instead of the Anza insert at Cabrillo, Cabrillo has their own inserts, and they would go through their protocols specific to Cabrillo. And then 138th would have their specific protocols as well. It just, we would substitute out the Anza one. I just use the Anza one because it was accessible and it looked nice at the times we put it in, but each school would have their own tailor-made version of this presentation.
Okay, and that will also go in some form, maybe via communication, via email or something too?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
it'll be on the websites. It'll go via an email. It'll be on several of our media, our outlets, communication outlets.
Great, thank you.
I have a question, Nisha, about the lunches. I understand how it works with the morning cohort. They pick up their lunch and then they go home and have it for lunch. The afternoon cohorts are a little more confusing to me. So the afternoon cohorts pick up their lunch, let's say it's Monday, pick up their lunch when they get there.
It would actually be ready for them at the end of the day. So we would
Okay.
prepare them, and then at the 2:50, 3 o'clock dismissal, we'll have them ready for them outside their classrooms, and they will pick it up and take it home. We wanted to make sure, you know, we didn't have any issues with it spoiling or anything like that if they picked it up right when they got there.
To
But then they're
clarify-
supposed to bring it back the next, no, they just eat it at home.
Yes.
Okay,
So Joe, that day they come eat with lunch already eaten
right.
and they take home next day's lunch.
Right.
Now for those.
What happens on,
students-
excuse me, Israel, what happens on Friday?
They pick up the Monday lunch. They pick up the Friday prepared meal for Monday.
Where do they keep, am I missing something? Do they take that home and bring it back on Monday? No.
No,
No.
they eat it at home. I think Israel was saying that they come to school with lunch already eaten.
Right. And then what do
Now-
they do with that lunch they pick up at 3 o'clock?
So Monday they would take home that lunch,
Uh-huh.
enjoy it Tuesday for lunch before they come on campus.
Oh, I got it. Okay, thank you.
Trying to limit the congregation in the, you know, in the lunch areas. It's almost, you know, when you have large numbers of students, this was just a more fluid way to be able to have everybody eat, everybody have access to lunch, but also maintaining the physical distancing. And I know when Nelson and Dr. Goldman, when we walk the site, it is, you know, it would be hard to house a lunch period, I guess, for lack of a better word,
Sure.
during the day.
Okay, thank you. I'll let it go.
Any other questions?
Oh, good job. Thank you.
On the lunch, very quickly, do we know if we have students that don't have refrigeration, and is that problematic?
We are not aware of that, but I can have our food services team look into if there might be any issues with storing of their lunch.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Silvers, anything else?
Just a big, a thank you to really to everyone. I mean, there's so many arms to how this happened. I mean, obviously, I'm looking back to March of last year, where we're really approaching that 1 year mark almost of having been in distance learning. And I mean, just to, to this board, to our teachers who have had to literally change on a dime, multiple times throughout this process, to our classified staff, again, who've been, on site for the duration of this, from cleaning our rooms to handing out lunches to doing all of those things that just needed to be done, to the cabinet and everybody. It really has been a team effort, and it's difficult. It's emotional. It's a change. I know it causes some apprehension and anxiety at times, and it's very emotional for people as we make these major changes and shifts. And so I empathize, I understand, and really thank with a deep amount of appreciation to everybody. My hats off to our WFA leadership, our CSEA leadership, and again our board for the support through this process. That's it for me, Dr. Goldman.
Thank you, Dr. Silvers, and indeed, thank you to all. Let's continue with our agenda and move to 6.1 facilities. Approve the proposal with Kaya Services for the purchase and installation of bipolar ionization units, which is a fun thing to say. These are the air purifiers that were referenced earlier, and very excited to hear them. My understanding is it's about 98+% purity. Dr. Silvers, any further additions here?
I mean, I could just share. I don't remember the numbers exactly, Dr. Goldman, but I do know that for COVID-19, the early tests, it came back at about a 99.8 to 99.6% for coronavirus. It does differ by virus. So MRSA is a little bit less. I think it was in the 60%. Just different viruses have a different, effective rate or effectiveness level with the purifiers. But for coronavirus, which we're talking about now, and is obviously the most pressing concern, and even for our flus, influenza, and the common cold, this purifier will provide really significant buffering and air purification for our classrooms.
I like the motion. I think this is an excellent investment.
Thank you, Nelson.
I'll second.
Thank you, Roger. Any other comments or questions? Wendy, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Moving to items in fiscal. The 7.1, approved proposal with Addiction Treatment Technologies, LLC.
I'll motion, but I have a question.
Thank you, Joanne. May I have a
I'll second.
Thank you, Roger.
Thanks. I wonder if someone could explain what we're actually getting with this agreement. It sounds like it's online referencing particularly, but it was a little hard to understand exactly what we're getting.
Perfect. Thanks, Joanne, for the question, and also to let board members and our community know this is going to be an additional mental health service support system for our families and for our staff. And so what Care Solace, or the legal name Addiction Treatment Technologies, has done is they have vetted local doctors, mental health professionals, whatever treatments folks may need. And it's a easy to use, personalized website just for Wiseburn teachers or staff members, as well as families. And so they can log in and let the screener know what issues they may be having, what help they may need, and then they would be automatically connected to the mental health professionals or services that they may need. Care Solace has come a long way. At first, they were literally just an area where all of the doctors would put their names in, and you can call anyone. But now we have something where we call the warm handoff. And so with digital technology these days, a parent will speak to a live person that'll actually help them make an appointment with the psychologist, with the counselor, with any sort of mental health needs they may have. Our own counseling team will also be able to refer families and be able to track if those families were able to get the resources that they need. And so this is more of a wraparound service for us and an additional resource for both our staff members and our families to get any sort of assistance they may need with mental health, with substance abuse, any of that.
And just to clear, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Blake. You're probably going to answer my question. Go ahead.
I was going to say that, what we have found is that families were having a very difficult time locating and finding resources, and the birth of this organization, of this company, or this LLC was actually out of a person, came from a person who struggled with mental health and with addiction, and family couldn't find that support for him at that time. And so he created this as a way to get us more of a seamless approach. We know mental health is an issue. We also know that families have reached out, and there's almost a stigma, for lack of a better term, of maybe not feeling comfortable talking to a school counselor or a mental health therapist at the school sites, but want to be linked up to another professional. And again, the same on the staff side. So, we feel that this was a good investment to help support students and our staff who may be feeling, the anxiety or whatever mental health issues may be coming across during this time and maybe beyond.
So there's no usage limitation. There's no, but people will get access through a referral of someone on staff.
So what'll happen is they actually set up a website for us, and we would link it to either the care team page or to our own website.
Okay.
And then parents, staff members, anyone is able to kind of log in. So it is intended for Wiseburn families and Wiseburn staff, but it's available to anyone that can use it.
Okay. It sounds like a great resource. I understand better. Thank you.
And just for the record, Redondo Beach Unified, RBUSD is using the same resource. Torrance Unified, I believe, is also using this resource. Starting to see it a lot in the South Bay. I believe Manhattan Beach is using it as well. So, something that we're able to offer our families that we're excited to offer. Not excited, people are having issues like this, of course. But the offering is really a good offer for our families.
Okay, good. Thanks a lot.
All right, then, Wendy, let's take it to a vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Thank you.
Item 7.2, approve agreement with All City Management Services for 2020-21. This is getting our crossing guards back.
Do we have a motion?
You have a second?
Thank you. Questions? Wendy, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you all. And 7.3, approve memorandum of understanding MOU with Da Vinci Schools, CTEIG. This is an articulation program funds. Dr. Silvers, perhaps you could help us a little bit here.
Sure. So in order for a school, an LEA, to apply for a CTE grant, it has to go through a district, so in LA County, one of the 80 districts. And so if you're an authorizer for a charter school, the actual process has to go through the authorizer, through the district. And so Da Vinci has been really successful in acquiring these grants over time. And this is a grant that I know Dave and his team have put quite a bit of time in, behind the scenes, to help make sure that they facilitate the acquisition of these funds. And so in return, we're able to benefit $30,000 to our pre-engineering programs, PLTW, any type of STEM learning, science activities, et cetera, that we can then use. And ideally, what we want to do is create this pathway and this articulation with our Da Vinci partners, and start and provide those programs that then articulate up into the high schools. Again, focusing probably more on STEM, PLTW, robotics, and those types of things at the middle school.
Great. A win for Da Vinci and a win for Wiseburn. So it's a nice partner win. Other questions or comments?
I think we need a motion.
A motion to approve?
Yeah, I'll second.
Thank you both. All right, Wendy, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
All right, moving to section 8, consent items. May I have a motion, please?
I'd like to motion 8.1 through 8.9, if everyone's okay with that.
You have a second?
I have questions about a few of them, but I'm happy to have them all motioned at the same time.
Go ahead, Joanne, we did.
Okay. Item 8.2 is approving additional hours for classified and confidential. And that's for overtime work, I think, that people are doing, or extra work and so on. Are we comfortable that we have enough folks? Because there's a lot of extra work that needs to be done. And are we comfortable? Sometimes hours are, or maybe, am I on the wrong one? I don't think so. Anyway, are we comfortable that we're staffed properly and we're, people are doing work to the level that's reasonable?
Nisha, I'll let you answer. I am, but Nisha, I'll let you talk, since this is your sort of.
Sure. So these specific 4, so the first one for the food service workers, that was specifically for the professional development day of February 12th. And originally the food service workers, if it was a regular year, we would not be serving lunch that day. But due to the pandemic, we did have grab and go lunch. And so it was kind of a one-off that we wanted to ensure that our families still got lunch on that Friday. Number 2, that is specifically for special education aides to go to NCI training. So it's a specific training that they get. And once again, those are the names are sent to us by SELPA of who needs to take the training. So a one-off. Number 3, that is in regards to the voting centers. So these are all kind of just one-time events that have happened. And then finally, the 4th one in regards to the parent teacher conferences. And this was really to help translate any of our IEPs that are coming up. So these staffing for additional hours were really kind of one-time events that we needed assistance with.
Perfect. Thank you. I have a question about 8.3. Help me understand this. Toby Harwell is going to teach a class at Da Vinci. Are we paying for that class?
So in this case, Toby is a full-time teacher at Wiseburn. So he teaches the 5 classes at Wiseburn, and then he has an agreement with Da Vinci to teach another period at Da Vinci to help push the music program up into Da Vinci, And so this is an agreement. This is their cost for that extra period. We pay it since he's an employee of Wiseburn. He's officially a Wiseburn employee, and then we invoice Da Vinci, and they
pay it back.
Reimburse us.
Okay, all right. And then the last one is 8.7. Yeah, we're paying someone for 19 hours at a rate of $35. And what's the total cost?
11,000.
11,000. So it's 35, which is that's the current hourly contractual rate for a certificated.
Yeah, if you pay someone $19 for 35 hours, that's $665.
This is to cover for the rest of the school year.
Per week.
An additional 19 hours per week.
Per week.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll read more carefully next time. Thank you.
And then I did have a question. Peggy, perhaps you can help us on 8.8 and 8.9. I think they're both non-public school services. That would be up your alley. The master contracts.
Yes, so item 8.8 is to contract with an agency. We have some staff vacancies in special education right now that we have been, Nisha has been trying to fill. We've had interviews and things just haven't worked out. And so this is our last ditch effort to try to staff a couple of positions. And that's 8.8. 8.9 is for services for some students.
Got it. Unfortunate on the staffing. Thank you. Any other questions, folks? All right, now let's take it to a vote. Wendy, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Move to personnel, item 9.1. We would take 9.1 and 2 together, but 9.2 deserves its own. So let's do 9.1. Approving the supervised internship agreement between WSD and Brandman University. Motion, please.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Thank you both. Question? Comment? Wendy, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 No need for opposed, Wendy, I guess.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay. I can count. You don't need it. It's fine. All right. Then 9.2, approve our director for facilities maintenance and operations. This is exciting always to bring a new person on, and we want to recognize and welcome Julie Williams. Can I have a motion, please?
You have
for
a motion.
Oh.
I'll second since Roger took that.
Thank you. Dr. Silvers, a new role here. Any comment?
Yeah, Dr. Dougal, I know you had, are we going to bring Julie over? You had,
Yeah, let's bring her over.
that was quick.
Hi, Julie. Is she there?
Hello,
There you go.
guys.
Hello.
Welcome. Congratulations.
Thank
Congrats.
you. Can I do this? Woohoo!
So board and community, I'd like to introduce you to Miss Julie Williams. She comes to us with over 25 years of experience in both facilities, project management, and construction. Her expertise in working not only within school districts, but also helping school districts with will be a major asset to us as in our maintenance and operations division. We look forward to your collaborative leadership, Julie, in effectively allocating resources and providing a safe environment for our school community as we look forward to returning on March 8th. So please join me in welcoming Ms. Julie Williams to the Wiseburn family.
Welcome, Julie.
Welcome.
Thank you. I was excited that I actually knew one person. Roger.
Hi, Julie. Welcome to the Wiseburn Unified School District.
Oh, thank you. I am thrilled. Everybody's been just so helpful and nice. Great questions. You have a really, really good executive cabinet and leadership in place, and the people that are in the divisions, they're very committed to what they do, and they ask very thoughtful questions. And so I'm really looking forward to being part of the team. So thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
You're certainly coming at a very relaxing time. And Julie, we're going to give you tonight off.
Okay.
So you can start in the morning. So
I think what got him is that I have more energy than most teenagers do. And I thought they went, ooh, really?
we will take advantage. Thank you so much. Good to have you on board.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Congratulations. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Let's make it official with a vote, guys.
Oh, yeah, that'd be nice.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
All right. The yeas have
Yay,
it.
welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Rest up.
Thank you. I will. Thanks.
All right. Moving to upcoming dates and events. Just one on our docket this meeting. 138th PTA has pasta night, Friday, March 5th. And do we know where that is going to be or where you can pick up the pasta?
It's virtual.
That's a form. You
Make
fill
your
out the
own.
form.
All right. Make and share, I guess, with your own family.
Right.
All right. Any other agenda items or new issues to arise at this time? Any final comments or thoughts?
Pleasant dreams, everyone.
Well, thank you all. With that, with no new agenda items, we will adjourn at
When's
8:17.
What's our next meeting, Wendy? Is it really 2 weeks?
Yes, it's March.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, Okay, thank you.
On the 11th, right, Wendy?
Correct.
Yeah, March 11th.
okay.
So we
Great.
will open before we meet again. Continued good work by everybody. Thank you all. And may we all have patience, understanding, and a great cooperative spirit. Thank you all, everybody. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Good night.
Good night.
Everybody.